Welcome to the Star Chess Academy. Today you will see a classic masterpiece by Mikhail Tal, the magician from Riga, where he crushes Robert Wade in just 25 moves. In this game, Tal shows one of the most important lessons in chess. Active pieces are often more important than material. So let's start. E4, C5. White is Mikhail Tal and black is Robert Wade. Tal plays knight f3, d6, d4, c into d4, knight into d4, knight f6 attacking the pawn, knight c3 protecting the pawn, and the move g6. We have the Sicilian defense, and black chooses the dragon setup with g6 and bishop g7, aiming for dynamic play. Bishop e3, bishop g7, f3. White supports the central pawn e4 and prepares a king side pawn storm g4 h4 knight c6 and Tal plays the move queen d2, preparing queen and the bishop battery against the black's king. The position is equal here, so black castles and the bishop to c4. Classic Yugoslav attack set. Bishop on c4, queen on d2, and usually white will castle queen side, so bishop to d7 and h4. Tal doesn't waste time. He starts the pawn storm immediately on the king side. So this move is not about material. It's about opening lines and preparing to attack the rook and the queen against black's king. So rook to c8. Still the position is equal. Bishop to b3 and queen a5. What is the idea? Black attacks the queen side and puts pressure on c3 and h5. Pushing the pawn further, attacking the g6 pawn and asking black, what? Yes, are you going to take or let me open your king? So knight into h5. Black grabs the pawn. It looks like white has simply given up a pawn for free. But Tal's idea is deeper. g4. White chases the knight and gains more space on the king side. This move also opens the g file and supports future attacks on h5 and g6. Knight f6, the knight retreats, and you can see the diagonals and the arrows of the bishops. The position is very sharp here, and white has space on the king side. Black's king is on g8. Lines are starting to open. Now Tal makes a very powerful strategic decision here. That is the move castle. He castles queen side. This does three important things. First, puts the king's safety on the other side of the board. Second, bring the rook from a1 towards the center. Third, leaves the rook on h1 ready to join the attack on the open h5. This is a perfect example of piece activation. Every move is bringing a new piece into the game with an attacking purpose. Knight e5, bishop h6. Beautiful move. White offers an exchange of bishops. The deeper idea is the bishop on g7 is a key defender of the black's king. If that bishop is removed, the dark squares around black's king becomes very weak. So bishop into h6, and here comes the famous rook lift, rook into h6. Yay! White is ready. So rook into c3. What is that? Black's counterplay, and here you will see Tal's control over the position. Black tries to create counterplay on the queen side. Black sacrifices the exchange on c3, removing the knight and hoping to open lines towards white's king, as his king is little bit in trouble. So b into c3 and rook to c8. Attacking the pawn, king to b2. Simple and strong. The king steps off the c file, avoiding tactics And now white is ready to fully focus on the king side. Black plays the move b5, trying to attack on the white's king. But no, rook dh1. Again, beautiful move. White brings the second rook into the attack. Now both rooks are stacked on the h file, rook h6 and rook h1. The h file is completely under white's control. This is what piece activity looks like. Both rooks are active. The queen is ready to join. The pawn storm has opened the lines. So knight to c4 attacking the queen and the king knight fork. We will not allow. So bishop into c4, b into c4. And here comes rook sacrifice. White gives up a full rook on h7. What is that? If black does not take it, it's made very soon. So black is almost forced to take knight on h7. And here comes Queen h6 joining the party. The queen is joining the game in the party. So e6. Like if black tries to save the knight, then Queen h8 is a checkmate. So black tries to save the king e6 and f4. Another strong move. Activating the pawn storm, white gains even more space and supports ideas like f5 or f into e5 or f into g6. The pawn on f4 also supports the knight jump to e5 or g5 later. So e5 and g5, as I said you, trying to build up a position. White is not in hurry. Knight cannot move anywhere. Knight moves, queen h8 is a checkmate. So bishop to e8 trying to control the f7 square. But no, a strong move is here. Knight to e6. What is that? The knight jumps into e6 with a crushing effect. The knight attacks g7. Queen is ready to checkmate. At the same time, there is no way to stop this counter attack of the white, and it's like unstoppable threat against the black's king. Very, very sharp game, correct? And so let's back and see what this game teaches us. Tal was willing to sacrifice pawns and a rook to open lines and activate his pieces. Both of white's rooks became extremely active on the h5. The queen joined at the right time, queen h6, not too early, not too late. So, black's pieces, especially the rooks and the dark squared bishop, were mostly passive and defensive. So, the key lesson is in the attacking positions, active, coordinated pieces are more valuable than extra material. Tal's rooks and queen work together. The pawn storm opened files. The knight jumped to e6 to finish the game. So if your pieces are all active and working together against the enemy king, often your opponent's extra pawn or even extra exchange down doesn't matter. I hope you learned so much from this game. Please share, like, and subscribe Star Chess Academy. Thanks for watching.